IEBC Commissioner Francis Wanderi is with us this morning. Francis, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome again to Kenya's Biggest Conversation. You've been with us before, and Mr. Wanderi, it's good to have you with us this morning. And, you know, things are hotting up. I guess many would say that temperature has been there for some time, but we're getting closer and closer to the day. And questions have been popping up in terms of the preparedness of the Independent Electoral Commission to be able to do this, Boundaries Commission to be able to deliver this election in the manner in which is required. And I guess just jumping into it this morning, what if you were to give an answer to that particular question, that is the IEBC ready for this?
IEBC, thank you very much for this. IEBC is 100% ready because we only have a few days to go. And we have been preparing for the election since 2018. And as we are talking now, the bit of work that is going on is the logistical issue of distributing the election materials, receiving the ballot papers, which will be distributed from early next week to make sure that all the polling stations have all the electoral materials. Most of the materials are already with the county and the election officials in the field. Yes. So IEBC is ready. We have trained our staff. We started training, and we will be doing the final training of the presiding officers and clerks and the assistants in the last 2 days to the election. Yeah.
The underlying questions.
I'm ready to answer any question.
And quite a number of them.
That's good.
On the face of it, in terms of logistics and getting people together in the stations where they would be, that doesn't seem to be a problem that then is, carried by many. One of the questions that made its way is from one section of the participants. And on the front page of the Standard yesterday, the question was that Raila wants answers on extra IEBC forms, and that is one of them. That there was the insistence on another form to be able to give the results of the election different from the one that would come from the transmission results, that there needed to be an alternative system through which results could be verified. They don't seem to have gotten an answer on that. And what is the status of that?
I think the issue of the Form 34A is very simple. And I would like to take this opportunity to explain to Kenyans what has happened. It was a deliberate decision by IEBC. And I want to explain why. Form 34A it has been printed by the printer. I happen to have been in Greece, the team that went to Greece to verify.
Okay.
So this was not anything that caught anybody by surprise. Probably the parties did not know that we are printing two sets. One...
Should they have, if I can interject there, should they have known prior to the printing that
see,
two sets were being printed?
It wasn't necessary, because this is the responsibility of IBC to organize how these forms and the printing is going to be done. So what happened is IBC, in its wisdom, decided that for all us to be able to give every agent a copy of the result form, we printed two booklets, one of two and two of two. The two booklets the purpose is to be able to meet the statutory requirements that these forms are going to be given to agents. And if you see, like now we have 4 presidential agents. Each agent by law is required to be given a copy of the result form. The original result form is supposed to be taken to the National Tallying Center and to the Constituency Tallying Center. Those are 5 forms, okay? Then, by law, you are required to put one form inside the ballot box and sealed together with the ballot papers once you have counted. All right? So those are 6. The 7th form, you are required to put 1 on the side of the ballot box. Stick it. That is 7. The 8th form, you are supposed to put 1 at the door of the polling station where the polling was done. So those are 8 forms. When you look at the carbonated forms that were being printed, you can only print 6, so that when you write on the top one, the original, that message, that is the same carbonated to the number 6. So by our wisdom as a commission, we thought it is important to have more so that you can be able to satisfy the 8 particular statutory requirements. That is why we printed that. It is not out of malice. It is purely out of what we were thinking is the best way to do this thing. So we have 2 books, 1 of 2 and 2 of 2.
Okay.
All right. So when we go to the printer, and those materials are already printed and they are packed in the presidential ballot papers, ballot boxes. What we wanted to do is, when the parties raised the issue, why are we having 2? And we explained it to them why the IEBC decided to do that. They were not comfortable with it.
Yes.
And we told them, this is okay. Let us go back to Nairobi. We invite you. We come to have a meeting with IEBC, and we look for a solution. If you don't know us to do that way, then that's fine. We look for any other alternative way. But certainly, we will certainly to have 1 book. If you want to have 1 booklet, we just have 1 booklet. Then we will need to discuss with the political parties, and we are having that meeting today at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
We explain to them the reason why we did it that way. And if they don't like it that way, we will look for a solution.
Is this what we did in the previous election?
In the previous election, I think there were more. And the reason why there were more, but I think they were also carbonated as well. But I'm not sure exactly how it was done last time. But this was an improvement on what was done last time.
Yes. If it was an improvement, the IEBC did not find it necessary to explain these changes because it wasn't what was done the previous time. And the moment there's a change, because you're explaining it now, could it not have been explained at the time you're making it and saying, in the previous election, this is what we had. In this coming election, we've decided to do this, and this is the reason why we are doing it.
Let me give you another example. IEBC has the mandate to streamline the systems in accordance after you do the post-election evaluation. You look at the areas where things may not have been very, very good, and you look for ways of improving that. We did that, and I'll give you another example. Last elections, we have had 50 booklets of 50 ballots, a number of them, all right? So that you, depending on the number of voters in a polling station, you decide the number of ballot booklets you are going to have.
Yeah.
This time, IEBC decided to avoid loopholes. We are going to have only 1 booklet.
Okay.
For example, if a polling station 5 has 530 voters, you have 1 booklet for presidential with 530 ballots, papers. You're not going to have 50, just 1.
Okay.
If it has 700, you have 1 for 700. For each electoral position, you have only 1 booklet. That is an improvement that we did in order to make sure that there were no ballot papers hanging around.
Okay.
Right? It is within our wisdom and the mandate to improve those systems.
Okay.
Commissioner Wanderi, one isn't questioning the wisdom. Not really. It is your mandate, and it is understandable, and it's laudable that you have done what needed to be done. There is no question about that.
Okay.
My question is, you know, once this constitution introduced public participation, unfortunately, as a layperson, I expect to be informed.
And participate publicly.
Yeah, and participate. This is really what I'm talking about here. You made the changes, excellent. You thought it's the best way to go. It's your mandate to do so.
Yes.
But the reason why this thing is becoming a debate now is because it has happened, and they're saying, hey, why is it happening? I'm asking the simple question. Could the explanations that are being given today at 11 o'clock not have been given earlier?
I agree they could have been given earlier, but as an organization, you are responsible for improving your services, your processes.
Yes,
Seriously.
Okay.
Yes. And let me say this. We are not stuck to this issue. We have called the political parties. The changes they want us to do, we will do to be able to satisfy the law, because we are also doing this to certify the law.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, talking about putting things in the public, the other day, I mean, just the day before yesterday, so that was the night before, we saw in the public that the ballot papers, the 225 pallets that arrived in the country, did so under the glare of IEBC vice chair. The political parties were represented, and that was clearly evident that they had come into the country. However, just a short week ago, stickers with barcodes made their way into the country without the same spotlight being on them. Again, this poses a question of why do it one way one time and a different way another time? Because what it does now is raise suspicion about what may be happening. We know that this became a very public affair. And then a few days after that, we see these pallets that come into the country, and everybody knew that they were there and nobody had an issue with them. Why choose to have done it that way then and then do it publicly just a short week later?
Okay, I want to distinguish the two incidents. I was in Greece with a team that went there, including political party representatives and religious leaders and other stakeholders. And we, after inspecting what has been done, and we agreed that we are going to come together. The plane that was going to bring the ballot papers was arriving the same day we were also arriving. So that's how we were at the airport with all the stakeholders, and we even told our team here. Now, that was the responsibility of IBC, and that was organized by IBC.
Okay.
The stickers, according to our contract, it is the responsibility of the contracted company, Smartmatic. All right? So that was not our business. They are contracted to do that, and the part of their contract indicated that they have to have those stickers to be able to identify the KIMS kit, the location, the polling station, and that kind of a thing.
Okay. So they were not mandated to make this arrival of these
that is their business public. To do like we have contracted to do very many other things, including installation.
Commissioner, I beg to differ. It is your business, because there would have been no need for the barcode, the stickers, the barcodes, if IEBC didn't exist and we didn't have an election.
No.
It is IEBC who contracted those people. It is still your business. And even if it is, as you say, contracted, surely there is a way in which we do things in this country, and there's a way in which IEBC does things. Are you telling me that the people you contract are not obligated to do things in the way that they have been done by IEBC?
No. They were bringing the stickers. All right? They came with the stickers. Okay? And as part of their contract to fulfill their business, the work they are supposed to do. Okay? Like they supplied us with a set of KIMS kit, about 14,100. All right? They pretend the stickers. But you see, in the course of their business, they are executing their contract. Okay? And I really don't want to dwell so much on that. It is true that it would have been necessary for them to inform us that we are bringing these stickers at this particular time. Okay? But they didn't inform us, and that's what led to what happened. But I am distinguishing the two incidents because the other one was purely an affair that is being managed by IBC in terms of stakeholder involvement. That's the difference.
Would IEBC be able to conduct an election without those materials that were coming in with the Venezuelan party that night?
Those stickers would even have been
Would
able
the
to
election be able to hold without that material?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So based on
Those
that,
stickers,
that's why you're saying that these are two totally different incidences.
And that is why we say they are not strategic materials. They are purely a sticker to identify the bag and the Kim's kit for a particular polling station. They could even have been printed here.
But
by the
how
way,
can that not be crucial? Because in the absence of the barcodes, then the whole exercise could get completely...
No. You could label using a marker pen. You could label a bag and a Kim's kit using a marker pen.
Yes, you could.
Yes.
I think
so. That's why you are saying it's not a strategic material, but it is purely to be able to identify a Kim's kit to a box and to a polling station.
I think there's an underlying question, Namuga, we are asking here, is that the moment you step into a lion's den, nothing about your activity there is inconsequential.
Yes.
I think there's a certain sense of IEBC being tone deaf to the sensitivity of its role. This determines a government for the next 5 years.
Agree.
And because we are a country, we've become a very praying country around elections since 2007, which means that our role of your role is not a normal role for most other election.
Yes.
So every single thing you do is in scope for concern. And I think you are learning from this, but I think part of the incredulity of our questions is this: it doesn't matter what your intention were. The perception of a problem
is a reality.
And it's creating a problem for you because, you see, that's how you end up with enemies of the nation, creating a situation where you can get out of hand. Because it's what you've done now. I'm not saying you, of course, you know what I mean.
Yes.
Because there's been you've planted a seed of suspicion. It's going to undermine even all the good work you've done. And so the question I would ask is this: okay, so and I agree with Barabuga here that barcode that identifies a specific polling station and a specific machine is critical. In fact, my question to you is, why on earth was it even left to a private sector person? That should have been part of your strategic materials, because that's how sensitive this whole thing is. There's no element of this should have been delivered by a third party when it has to do with the future of our nation. I think what I'm saying is, and it's not a question for me. It's saying it's appreciating that.
I appreciate what you're saying. But as they deliver the mandate of the IEBC, we have several players, including people who are contracted. For example, that code that was supposed to be in the sticker. By the time this happened, we were away. But what I'm saying, that code in itself, there is each particular Kim's kit, and in a polling station has its own way of configuration, so that they have the number of the people who are supposed to vote in that particular polling station. An SD card is produced and inserted in that particular Kim's kit. Okay? And that is derived from a master card for that particular county. For example, in Nyeri County, there is a master card for Nyeri County. And it's broken down to the constituencies and polling stations, such that each Kim's kit will have the number of the people registered in that polling station. All right? And for that to work, there is a code, a QR code, that will be given to that Kim's kit, not the barcode that we are talking about, about the labels. A QR code that will now, before you start, you scan that code to that polling station, and therefore it will be able to identify the people registered in that polling station.
And
only.
where are those right now?
Who?
These codes that you're talking about, have they already been generated?
No, that will be given the day of the voting.
Okay. So
It's a security system whereby that QR code
yes.
will be done and be available, and the presiding officer for that particular station will have to sign on that using the finger for that to happen.
Okay.
So it's a system that is to secure. You understand that?
I don't think anyone is disputing the system.
Yeah.
My dear sir. I don't think the issue is how well prepared, or it's a fact that anything that has the appearance complicates your job.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you what you say that any small thing that you do today is a public scrutiny. And if it is, there is a miss somewhere, then of course it raises an issue.
So even the entirety of the description you've just given us, I presume that's on your website, but even the description you've just given us, if it's a way of it being part of the public civic education, would go a long way in giving confidence to the population. So it's like everything you've just done now. It's very useful for me. Half of that I didn't know myself.
Let me also inform you that we are planning to have public education whereby we're inviting all the media houses. I think it's either today or tomorrow. I don't know whether they have been informed. Whereby we want to take the public through the process of voting and the security system we have to ensure that the election, the voting, the process is credible, including the transmission of the results.
So let me ask you a question. Just that question you just said there.
Yeah.
How long ago was that known? The entire process.
The entire process
of voting. What you're about to say?
We have.
You've known it for a while.
We have done it, and we are doing. Actually, we are doing public education. We have voter education.
That's ongoing.
Educators
as we
that
speak?
are ongoing in the field all over the country.
Okay.
All over the country. That process is going on. Yeah, our voter educators are in the field. They have been in the field for the last 2 weeks. And in every ward, they are going around educating people. Even to the shopping centers, they go and they're telling the people, this is how the ballot paper looks like, how the boxes looks like. That process is going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 29 minutes to 10 o'clock. Let's take a break and come back and continue with this conversation. We are talking with IEBC Commissioner Mr. Francis WANDERI today and talking about the preparedness of the IEBC for the upcoming general election. And we're talking about, issues, public confidence, issues, public education on what this process will look like.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
IEBC Commissioner Francis WANDERI, and looking at issues on the preparedness of the IEBC going into the election, which takes place in 12 days. And just before we went to the break, the question is, the communication of some of these processes is a big deal when it comes to delivering a credible election. We have seen cases where the process of a matter is what is leaned on in order to find out and see whether the process or whether the whole event was credible. And making that public, making that communication public is important. Earlier in a previous conversation this morning, we said, look, just because I like bananas doesn't mean I hate oranges. But it could be true that if something is being done and you don't say it or you don't let people know, then you also leave them the room to be able to fill it with whatever speculation that they can find. And from the position of the IEBC, why then are these processes then not being made public?
I don't think that is a correct statement. We are making our processes public as much as possible. We have been invited by the various stakeholders to talk to them about our processes, what we are doing. And that has been happening all over the country, including our officials in the field. They have been holding stakeholder engagement meetings. We have been having voter educators. And this is not just during this election, even when we are doing the voter registration. we also have stakeholders engagement. We are doing that. Probably what we do not have much, we have not done much of is going to media houses like this ones. And that is one of the reasons why we are saying, and we have been able to get together with the media through a media working group so that we can be able to be talking a lot more and engaging a lot more going forward with the media. We realize that, of course, probably in the past, we have not been quite communicative or communicating so much. But we would want to involve the media going forward. And even right now, this is part of communication we are looking for.
Okay.
And we have a number of people going to different TV and radio stations to tell Kenyans what is happening. So in the next 10 days, we even have, we are launching a media center at Bomas of Kenya tomorrow. And from now on, every day, we shall be having communication with the Kenyans on what we are doing, where we are. Every day, we shall be having a media communication starting now.
Because I was thinking some ideas that are practiced in other places that I think we should adopt. I think in America there's got what they call a public hour. In other words, all media, as part of their licensing, are requested. Well, they used to be required to have set aside 1 hour per week for public communication. They can't charge the government for that. And it's almost, I would think that's what would be a very powerful way of doing this. And I'm saying not just now close to an election, but a year before an election, you could have a public hour or 20 minutes where the population is continually educated. And radio is very powerful. I mean, we've just talked before this program started that radio, we've been predicting the death of radio forever, but it's resilient.
Still strong.
And so there's some simple things which go partly to the suspicion that closer to the election you have this flurry of activity. But surely this has been a marathon. It's not a sprint. But not made feel like it's a sprint because the election is tomorrow. And a lot of this is unnecessary because 6 months from now, most of these issues should have really been in the public domain, discussed, had our fights on air, and then clarified it.
I agree with you, and I think moving forward, we have made it our decision as a commission to be sure that we shall be having very regular communication. One of the issues that has been a constraint is a budgetary constraint. What happens is, we are funded by Treasury. And I can tell you for sure that probably after this election, you are not going to fund it for any other activity other than, a few operational things of the commission. But we are planning that as we move forward, next year we are going to have, of course, to do the boundary reviews, which is supposed to be done. But moving forward, we need to have a much more robust public communication system. I can borrow from what you're saying, and we could negotiate with the media houses and have that kind of a thing happening, at least as we move forward. We need to talk more about ourselves. We agree. We have not done enough. But that has to be caused by the constraints, financial constraints. Because, for example, this year, we got our budget for the elections this financial year. Before then, you just operations.
Okay.
So we are planning to negotiate with the Treasury also to be able to finance some of those things. And they've also engaged with the media houses. We can be having our people. Because even public education about their rights, their voting rights, their civic rights, should be a continuous process.
Indeed. You talked about the fact that you will have training for agents 2 days to the election. Do you think this is adequate time?
Not agents. Our polling clerks.
All right. Okay. Let's move from agents to polling. Okay, fine. Same thing. Yes. Polling clerks. You have training.
Election officials.
Election officials 2 days to the general election. In your opinion, do you think that this is adequate time to have that done? Especially since...
let me explain. Let me explain.
Can I finish the question? And then now your explanation probably would come. Do you think that this is adequate time to have this done, and or is this dependent on the actual process of training that you're speaking of?
No, okay. Let me explain. This training has been going on for the last 2 weeks. We have different levels. We have trained the training of trainers. Then they go down to the constituency. The team that I'm saying that will be trained last are the polling clerks.
Okay.
But that process has been going on at different levels. The polling clerks will be the ones that will be trained on the last 2 days to the election.
Okay.
One of the issues is that the presiding officers and the polling clerk must also be trained on how to use the KIMS kit.
Okay.
How do you identify people? That process, the whole process of the election. And that requires that the machines, the KIMS kit, must be also available for them to be able to do that. So that is the training is cascaded down, and the last group is trained around that time.
Okay.
It is enough time. 2 days training is good enough for them to learn what is supposed to be done.
What does a polling clerk
And
do?
those are our. They are not our officials. Those are temporary officials that are going to be running the polling.
You was asked the question, but I told you to hold it because I would like you to walk us through the various officials that we will encounter during this particular election period. Okay, there's polling clerks. Who are the other officials who actually run this particular election, who are mandated by the IEBC to conduct the elections on behalf of the Kenyans?
Yeah, we have the ICT officials. We have the returning officers. In all the constituencies, we have a returning officer, a deputy returning officer. We have logistics staff. We have ICT staff, I said. And all those people have been going through the training because they are the ones who are going to train the people at on the ground. We have master trainers. Master trainers are our staff. They are the ones who have the curriculum. So what IEBC have done is to develop a curriculum to train each level. So the people who have been trained now, we have done the constituencies. Those are the ones that are now going to do the training of the clerks in various polling stations in their counties, in their constituencies. So our staff also have to be trained on the use of KIMS kit. Maybe some of them have not used before, some of them may be new, others have been there before. So that whole process of training is done. Including the when you do the voting, we have a polling station diary, a document, a booklet that has a lot of information that the polling officials have to fill to track down any activity or any event that took place at the polling station.
That is signed off by the agents, by the candidates.
Then
agents.
there is also the forms. This form 34A and all for all the other positions, they have been trained how to fill each one of them, how to account for every ballot that was cast, or when you are counting which was spoiled or rejected, what makes it be rejected, what makes it be spoiled, what makes it be disputed. All that information, they are trained. So it's quite a process.
Oh, it's a necessary process.
It's a necessary process, and that is part of what...
we would also like to know this process for the simple reason that we often hear of spoiled votes. So you're asking, so what does a vote need to do in order for it to be spoiled?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That training, and that is the one which we are saying we are going to conduct publicly. And we have, by the way, we have been doing this, including to our judiciary. We have taken them through the process and what accounts to a vote that is being spoiled. We have taken lawyers through the process. So we have been doing this a lot.
By the way, that isn't in
and
doubt.
what you are saying is that information, we also want to do it to the public through. We have had that done in KBC. We have had that, but now we want to invite all the media houses. We take them through so that when you talk about a spoiled vote, what causes to be a spoiled vote?
Okay, let me just ask maybe
yes.
left of field question. What are 3 things that you did last time that you have rectified? 3 major challenges that you faced in 2017 that have been fixed this time?
One key issue that has been fixed this time, and that is in accordance with the direction or the ruling of the Supreme Court, is that during these future elections, until otherwise, you not transmit data. You transmit the image. What do I mean? Can I explain?
Yes.
Once you fill from that 4A at the polling station, because the only results that are transmitted electronically are the presidential. Once you fill that form, the agents have signed, and the presiding officer and the deputy have signed. You take an image. The KIMS kit has a camera function. The KIMS kit will take an image of that form. That form is transmitted by the KIMS kit through the electronic system to the server and to the National Tallying Center and to the constituency tallying center. All right? That is the result form.
Okay.
That result form is final.
Right.
In other words, the figures indicated that have been signed,
Yes.
nobody can change, not even the chairman of IEBC, not even the National Tallying Center.
But it must contain all the signatures of the
It will contain the signatures of the agents, of the candidates, the signatures of the IEBC officials, all right? And once it is transmitted, that kit, that KIMS kit, transmit that image only once. You cannot transmit again.
Okay.
So before you send, you must confirm it, because you confirm and the agents are there. So once you have sent that, you are left with the original. That original is the one you take to the constituency tallying center. Last time, what happened is that the data, the information, for example, this candidate got so many votes, this one got so many votes, that was entered separately and sent as an SMS to the National Tallying Center. And that is the information that kept coming, adding the figures. So the Supreme Court ruled that that is not going to be done again. So what will happen this time, once you have taken from that 4A to the constituency returning officer will fill from that 4B. That form, that 4B, contains the results from all the polling stations in that constituency. They will add the total in front of the agents, add the total, the agent will sign. Once they have signed, then the returning officer from the constituency is mandated or required by law to deliver the original. She will also scan.
Yes.
But she would have to deliver the original
By hand.
By hand,
Yes.
physical, to the National Tallying
So
Center.
then she'll scan and transmit also.
She will scan and transmit.
Okay.
She will transmit, but she must take the original to the National Tallying Center.
So at what point are these documents scanned? Or there's no scanning this time?
After everyone
No.
signed.
That image that you take at the polling station
It's the only one.
is the only one, and it is final.
After all the agents have signed.
After all
So
the
is
agents
this
have
the
signed.
reason why then you're saying there was no need for an alternative system, whereby the demand has been that in as much as we're having this electronic transmission of results, the demand from from other quarters has been, can we also then not have a manual result?
Manual
Is it
register.
Is it because
It's
of
manual register,
right.
not manual result.
Is it because of this
It's a
now?
blend now.
Yes, I mean,
No,
from what we are looking at,
Let me clear.
is it
The
because
demand was for the manual register, just in case the KIMS kit fails. Then you can be able to use the manual register to identify the people who are going to vote.
right?
And that's still going to
And
happen.
what has happened? We have printed the manual registers for every polling station. All right, and that is packed together with the presidential ballot papers. Now, that manual register is going to be available at the polling stations, but it is not going to be used for identification of voters.
What will it be used for?
It will not
just
be,
for it to be
it
there.
is just a standby, just in case things fail.
Right.
But we do not anticipate anything is going to fail. One of the reasons is the KIMS kit is partly like a battery, like your phone. It has a battery. All right? It is not online. And that is why I was saying it is configured for that particular polling station. After you have done you have switched on the QR code, and it is activated from the National Tallying Center, from the data center at the time you start voting.
Right.
Now, that KIMS kit has a battery, a power backup battery, in case the one you have in the battery in the KIMS kit has failed or has finished, so you can charge it. All right. So, like a power bank, they have a power bank. Now, we do not anticipate that the KIMS kits are going to fail. But just in case.
In case they do, there is
In case
a
what
backup.
happens, we also have 6 KIMS kit additional in every ward. In case any of them fails,
Okay.
they can be replaced. And to replace the KIMS kit, you also need to replace SD card, which is in the KIMS that has failed, to put in the new one.
And the assumption is that these extra 6 KIMS kits at each point have also been serviced, and at
Not
least you can
assumption,
be sure.
that is a
well,
fact.
I mean, we have to ask. From my
That's a fact. That's the exercise that has
they've
been going
serviced,
on.
they've
They have
been
been serviced. They
serviced.
are all in working conditions.
Right.
All of them.
I would like us to finish. You began to say, so 3 things
Yes.
that you like.
That was one.
So the first one is you transmit the scanned copy to
Yes.
the tally.
And
Right.
the second one is that the original forms from 34A
A,
that constitute that form 34B,
B, yeah.
all of them must be brought to the National Tallying Center. And the National Returning Officer must verify the correctness of the entries before he announces the results for the president at that particular constituency.
Okay.
So what it's telling you, it is going to take a bit of time.
It will. Clearly.
It will take a
Because
bit of
if
time
he
because-
has to do this for
and
every
this-
single station.
And he has to see the original. Although the scanned copy went, the transmitted copy is in the portal, he has to see the originals, verify that,
That they match.
and they agree.
So because what we are looking at essentially is that from stations around the country is that everybody has to make their way essentially to the NTC
From the
with this manual form
290 constituencies plus the diaspora, this comes to 91.
Yeah, but the National Tallying Center already
Oh,
has
no,
a total.
yeah.
No, they will have
The scanned total.
the scanned
So they
copies
just
are
verification.
the
and
images.
verification
The images
exercise.
are in the portal,
That's right.
and you can be doing your additions, but you must wait for the original.
Do we
Mr.
have another
Wanderi,
conversation?
no, Mr. Wanderi, unfortunately,
can
I
I-
mean, our time is actually running short because we're going closer and closer to 10 o'clock. But we can give you, an opportunity to say your last words now about this, because I mean, this is another reason why communication is very important, because
Okay,
there's a lot
sure,
to cover.
yes,
in about 30 seconds, what would be your last words?
My last
on
word
this?
is to tell Kenyans that IEBC is prepared for this election, and we are open. We are negotiating and discussing everything with the stakeholders, political parties, and we will deliver an election better than any other. And we have invited the media to all polling stations if they can, or returning office, county and the constituent offices, to be able to tell the public what is happening, including tallying the results.
Asante Sana, Mr. Francis Wanderi, for joining us, an IEBC commissioner today, being here with us. We must remember, elections bila noma. It doesn't matter. Once you vote, remember that you will still live amongst people.